Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer seeks to depose Trump over $130,000 payment. Stormy Daniels is seeking to question President Donald Trump under oath about a non-disclosure contract that paid her to keep quiet about their alleged relationship. In a filing late Tuesday night in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles, the adult film star, whose given name is Stephanie Clifford, asked permission to question Trump for 2 hours. Her lawyer also is seeking to depose the president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, who arranged the hush money deal with Daniels. It is firmly established that a sitting president is not afforded special protection from a civil suit regarding conduct before he or she entered office, wrote Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti. He cited the landmark 1997 Supreme Court ruling in Clinton v. Jones, which established that a sitting president isn't immune from civil lawsuits related to activity that occurred before he took office. In that case, President Bill Clinton had been accused of harassing a state employee, Paula Jones, while he was governor of Arkansas. In an interview Wednesday morning on CBS This Morning, Avenatti said he's merely seeking the truth. "We want to know the truth about what the president knew, when he knew it and what he did about it," Avenatti says. In another late filing, Avenatti also requests a jury trial for the case. In the court filing, Daniels' lawyer also said that the non-disclosure agreement and its mandatory arbitration clause violate public policy by suppressing speech on a matter of enormous public concern about a candidate for President of the United States, mere weeks before the election. Cohen is seeking to move the Daniels complaint out of court and into private arbitration. He has claimed the payment to Daniels was made out of his own pocket, not Trump's. In October 2016, less than 2 weeks before Election Day, Daniels signed a contract to remain silent about her alleged affair with Trump in exchange for $130,000. The agreement was reached as the Trump campaign was trying to control damage from a leaked Access Hollywood tape in which Trump bragged about grabbing women. Cohen and the White House did not immediately return requests for comment. Bipartisan Senate duo calls on Trump to back off Mueller. A Republican senator behind a bill to protect special counsel Robert Mueller's job joined his Democratic co-author on Tuesday in a bipartisan call for President Donald Trump to let Mueller's investigation proceed without impediment. Senator Thom Tillis, RNC, aligned with Senator Chris Coons, D-Del, after weeks of downplaying the need for quick passage of their legislation designed to shield Mueller from being fired by Trump, who has repeatedly expressed frustration with the ongoing probe of Russian interference in the 2016 election. Tillis and Coons' move comes 1 week after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, and Speaker Paul Ryan, Republican Wisconsin, delivered their own gestures of support for Mueller, while not endorsing legislation to protect his work. "We have heard from constituents, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, who agree that Special Counsel Robert Mueller should be able to conduct his investigation without interference," Tillis and Coons said in their joint statement. "This should not be a partisan issue." Notably, the two senators defended the rationale behind their bill but put the onus on Trump to let Mueller continue rather than demand congressional leadership take up their legislation. "We urge President Trump to allow the special counsel to complete his work without impediment, which is in the best interest of the American people, the President, and our nation," they added. The Tillis-Coons bill, which gives special counsels the power to contest their firing after the fact, still must be merged with a competing measure from Senators Lindsey Graham, RSC, and Cory Booker, DNJ, before the Senate Judiciary Committee can consider it. The Judiciary Panel's chairman, Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican Iowa, has yet to publicly support either version pending ongoing talks on combining the plans. Soon after Tillis and Coons' statement on Tuesday, 9 of the 10 Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee released letters to 5 Department of Justice officials who would take on a more prominent role in overseeing Mueller's probe if Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who has defended the special counsel, is fired or resigns. The letter, spearheaded by Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat Connecticut, seeks a written and public commitment from the 5 officials that you will not interfere in the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 elections, possible collusion with such meddling by the Trump campaign, efforts to obstruct justice, and any related inquiry. Senator Amy Klobuchar's, Democrat Minnesota, signature was not on the letter, but her office noted that she has publicly supported the goals of the Mueller protection effort. Trump gets South Korean concessions in first trade deal. President Donald Trump has reached the first trade deal of his administration, getting South Korea to make a few changes to a 6-year-old pact he said was a horrible deal. Trump had largely criticized the previous agreement largely because of the U.S.'s auto trade deficit with South Korea, which has grown significantly since the deal went into force in 2012. At his insistence, the two countries launched talks last year to renegotiate the pact. Senior administration officials Tuesday night outlined the details of the revised U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, known as KORUS, most of which were announced over the weekend by the South Korean government. Separately, Seoul won a permanent exemption from a new 25% steel tariff imposed by Trump as of last week, although not from a new 10% duty on aluminum imports. The changes to the KORUS agreement include a provision that will double to 50,000 the number of cars each U.S. manufacturer can export to South Korea without having to meet the country's more stringent safety standards. Others address additional auto regulatory barriers. While some of these may seem small individually, altogether these create a suite of outcomes that make it a lot easier for our auto companies to compete on a level playing field there in South Korea, a senior administration official said. South Korea also agreed to reform its custom inspection procedures for determining whether an import meets the necessary rules of origin to qualify for duty reductions under the pact. Oftentimes in the past, Korea has had burdensome and arbitrary inspections for country of origin at the border. It's been a big problem, not just for cars, but for all kinds of industrial products, even agricultural products and processed foods, the administration official said. In exchange for the steel tariff exemption, South Korea agreed to cap its steel exports at 70% of the average volume from the past 3 years on a product-by-product basis. Administration officials said that other countries seeking tariff exemptions would have to agree to similar quota restrictions, but not necessarily at the same levels. The one additional detail that had not been announced was that the United States and South Korea are finalizing an agreement that will prohibit either country from devaluing their currency for an unfair trade advantage, senior administration officials said. U.S. officials hailed the new currency side agreement, which is being finalized by the U.S. Treasury Department and South Korea's Finance Ministry, as the first of its kind. But the currency measure is not actually part of the revamped KORUS Pact and is not enforceable through that agreement's binding dispute settlement provisions. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, which Trump abandoned, also contained a non-binding currency agreement. It also could be a precedent for future U.S. trade agreements, an administration official said, without commenting on whether the revised NAFTA agreement now being negotiated with Canada and Mexico would include a similar provision. The United States also won a commitment that South Korea would open up its national drug reimbursement program to American companies, which previously have not been able to receive payments under the program. To date, that system has only applied to Korean companies, and our pharmaceutical companies, which are the leading ones in the world, have not been able to take advantage of that program, the administration official said. Korea has agreed that within 2018 that it will amend its premium pricing policy to make sure it's consistent with previous commitments under the agreement and to make sure U.S. companies have non-discriminatory and fair treatment for their pharmaceutical exports, he said. South Korea wants certain procedural guarantees regarding the administration of U.S. anti-dumping laws and import duties meant to counteract subsidies. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin had said on Fox News Sunday that the U.S. and South Korea had reached a very productive understanding on amendments to course and the tariff exemptions. "We expect to sign that agreement soon," Mnuchin said over the weekend, calling Seoul's willingness to cap its steel exports to the U.S. an absolute win-win. Adam Besudi contributed to this report. Those included aligning South Korean environmental testing standards with the United States and recognizing U.S. standards for auto parts, which should make it easier for companies to make auto sales in the market, he said. Seoul has also agreed to let the United States maintain its 25% tariff on light trucks for 20 extra years, instead of phasing it out by 2021 as originally negotiated. In another area, South Korea is taking steps to make it easier for American-made cars to meet the country's fuel efficiency standards, U.S. officials said. Last year, the United States exported about $2.5 billion worth of autos and auto parts to South Korea and imported about $23.9 billion worth of those products from the Asian ally. White House no plans to bring back former aide Porter. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said Tuesday that President Donald Trump has no plans to bring back former aide Porter, who resigned from the administration last month amid allegations of spousal abuse. "There are no plans for him to come back," Sanders said of Porter at the daily press briefing. The remarks came in response to a New York Times report published Monday that Trump has stayed in touch with Porter and has expressed hope that the former White House staff secretary could someday return to the West Wing. Sanders said she was only aware of one exchange between Trump and Porter since his departure. "They have spoken one time," she told reporters. According to the Times report, Trump told advisors he knows he cannot realistically bring back Porter, given the denunciations of his alleged behavior, but the president misses the structure the staff secretary imposed in the office. Porter resigned in early February after news outlets published accounts of domestic violence from his two ex-wives. Porter has denied wrongdoing. The departure prompted a wave of backlash, with White House officials being pressed to account for his presence in the West Wing given his alleged conduct. The Porter scandal also raised questions about the White House's employee security clearance protocols. The former staff secretary had been operating in the West Wing under an interim security clearance. Chief of Staff John Kelly, whose handling of the Porter controversy drew sharp criticism, later announced revamped protocols for how the administration will handle clearances.